Hi guys. All right. So I have two lectures. I'm only going to do this one briefly, and the second one I have to do. It's coming out of me. It's being expected of me. And it's the most difficult one I ever have. The lecture I will do this evening after my client or tomorrow will be more about the scripture of honor thy father and thy mother. And if you know anything about my history, you would know how difficult it is for me to speak on this topic and how important it was for me to understand it and stop rejecting it. But right now, instead, I'm going to talk to you about the importance of your authenticity and your authentic vibe. Okay? The reason this is so important is because you want to emit the frequency that draws in your counterpart. Okay, so for those that are masculine energy, gentlemen, you know you are the ones that are supposed to be doing the courting and all of the work to convince us, so I don't need to tell you that you're courting, right? But for masculine women who do the courting, okay, this actually can be a little bit difficult for you because you identify with the feminine energy so much that it's important, okay, to understand that if you are a masculine woman doing the courting, okay, what you are attracted to is your own image. It's you. There's no one else. All right? And this is important. So I want to show you briefly how it worked on me. All right, so everyone has their counterpart energy always. And if you've ever wondered what it is that you're attracted to the potential of your experience with your experience, right? So all of your life experience, of all bodies are illusions. We understand this. Okay, you can't know me and not know that. All bodies are illusions. And the only thing that is on display that is made into a body is the body of experiences that when they reflect back yourself to you, you can recognize yourself. That's what's happening. So I'm going to use myself as an example. All right. Many of you know the story of John and I. And if you know anything about us, you would know that I knew it was him. He didn't know. He was slow on the uptake. Okay? I knew. But I want to tell you why I knew. It's important. Because if I'm going to be in any other kind of future relationship with anyone, anybody else, or anything in the future, obviously, you're going to have to know what I'm looking for, right? And I'm saying this only because if it were you, you'd have to know what you were looking for. So I'll describe our scenario and our history just so you can understand what it was. What was that clue that was like, oh, that dude's me, right? So it was a clue. I have always been unapologetically myself. And it is a default program because I was raised by myself. And although I had parents that loved me, my father checked out and my mom was depressed, so I raised myself. Now, she did a great job of being there, the best that she could, but I raised myself, okay? I had to be the adult for her. Not an easy place to be, all right? I had to be this. I had to be the grown-up in the equation. It was not fair. But what that did for me, not growing up with parents that way. And don't get me wrong, I love my mother. I accept my father as is, and I really appreciate everything that he is. But not having them in my life made me my own validation. It is what it is. And I'm okay with it. I'm totally fine with it. I've made peace. I accept it. I totally get it. I'm not detracting from the experience. In fact, I appreciate it because I see now when people look for outside validation, like, what should I wear? And what if someone thinks this doesn't, like, I don't have that gene. It wasn't formed. Okay? But here's how I recognize that John was my person at the time. Okay? We were at work. I didn't know him from Adam, and I just looked over, And it was the weekend. It was Monday. It was the day after the weekend. And he was just, the guys, because it was a all boys type of environment. I've always worked around men most of the time. It was all the guys, and they were talking, and you know, and they were laughing hard, sadly, but they were laughing because they were saying how easy it was to get women, how women go out of their way and they all want a shot at the title. You have to understand how comical this was to me. Like, I don't behave like that. You know, I sound like the dude. But again, they were laughing. They were so amused at how well the law of reverse effort worked on women. Okay? It works so well. Because anyone who doesn't have their self-concept and their worth, okay, who comes across someone who is secure in his or her worth, will cause the other person to go out of their way to try and perform to prove themselves worthy. And that's what these gentlemen were having a conversation about. I'm just a third-party observer, but I'm watching this. And I'm quite amused, okay? Because here he was, oh, these women want a shot at the title. You know how it is, bro. Yeah, bro. You know how that conversation goes down, okay? I'm sorry, gentlemen, if I'm making fun of guy talk. Literally, that's what happened. That was the second I realized, wait a minute, other me, is that you? Because that's my attitude that you're showing me. That's me. And from that moment forward, I decided to be his best friend. I knew. That's me. And my only job was to always remember that. And that's what made him realize it was me. But here's the cool thing. It's not about him. It's not about her. It's not about anything else. It's about realizing you are what you seek. You. You're the constant. It really doesn't matter which body you choose to show you your own love to yourself, because you are not looking for them to give you what you should be giving yourself. You are looking for them to demonstrate how great of an alignment you have with you. And that is what draws you in. My cousin's watching, you guys. We're puentes, okay? This is a puente thing, right? Puentes have never had to struggle in a relationship. This is not something we do. I am my father's daughter, okay? Please don't get that twisted. And that man is very much alive in me, okay? Very much alive. Because if John hadn't behaved like that in that moment, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's exactly me. That's me. In other words, what you are doing is recognizing yourself, and that's what attracts you. In a world where everything is you, you have to be able to determine which is the best version of you, and that's what the attraction factor is. Now, as female feminine energy, regardless of gender, if you're a gentleman and you identify as having feminine energy, your power lies in your ability to attract, okay? And your ability to, I lost the word I'm looking for. It's attract and influence. There's your power. Influence, okay? Your power lies in knowing you're the neck. There's a subtle art to being the neck, okay? So when you are glorifying the man in you, sure, let him think he's the head. Absolutely. Everything's his idea, okay? But ladies and feminine energy as a whole, I don't care what body you're wearing, feminine energy as a whole, you represent the subconscious. You represent the void. You represent what is mistaken for negative energy. Why is it mistaken for negative energy? Well, everything cannot exist all in one place and allow you to see it. Meaning that you're also 600 years in the future from now, but at this very second, I can't see 600 years in the future from now. I can only see just a little bit in front of me. What you're seeing is the point in time where what you don't want and what you do want intersect, which is why you stand in the freaking middle, and then you serve as the veil to use your 3D clay to make your image in your likeness. In this way, it doesn't matter what's going on. You are deciding. You are the potter. The clay does not ever get to determine who you are. You're serving the wrong master if that's the case. Okay? So, when you know that you are the subconscious, okay, that subconscious has been boss for a very long time. That is the neck. Okay? Now, if you don't realize that this is how this is, I'm going to take you back to the Egyptians. The Egyptians made a pyramid in the shape of your brain to show you the image that man is made from. And the queen's chambers are underneath the king's chambers, so that the queen represents the subconscious basement and the king represents the conscious light. Both of these things work in tandem, and this is what you see outside. But this feminine energy has certain powers and influence that should not be dismissed. I'll talk about masculine energy later. I talk about masculine energy more than I talk about feminine energy because I identify more with masculine energy. Men, for me, are not hard to figure out at all. They just make perfect sense because I am one. Like, I'm the whole man that is woman, right? So I don't have this whole I need to like I don't know what men are thinking gene. I don't have that. Again, don't have that. It's a puente thing. You know, unfortunately, my dad's energy runs real strong in my body. I can't get rid of it. But as a result, I understand men so perfectly. All right? But again, subconscious energy is everything. Your power is an influence and attraction. So you have certain things that you can do to attract your partner. And the first one is be yourself. Be yourself unapologetically. Because this is the beacon that calls them home. But it has to be your true self. Your unapologetic self, your accepting self, the one that's not afraid to speak up, the one who doesn't care about making waves, the one who can just say whatever they want to say and not feel as if someone's going to, I don't know, walk away, not like them, right? And if someone does that, let them go. Let them go. And keep shining you, mirroring you. So if you have a specific person in mind, wear their favorite colors. This is feminine energy. Wear their favorite colors. Attract and influence from a distance. But please do not ever compensate for them. They have to show you they want you in their life, and as feminine energy, you have to be okay with receiving that. Now, many of us have this masculine energy already, whether you admit it or not, and so you feel the need to go do something, right? But do you remember what I said at the beginning? How these guys were laughing at the women? Because they were trying to prove that they were the ones that were worthy? That's backwards. Really, really backwards. And that's why it's not working. That's why you feel like you have to do all the work. You feel as if you have to do something to be liked. It's very inaccurate. It's wrong. It's so against the natural order of things. We need to be receptive of this energy, but also be aware of our power to magnify, influence, and attract. But the way that you do that is by being unapologetically yourself, so that the right person comes along and shows you who you are. And believe me when I say this, as long as you do this, they will show. What's that movie? What's that movie? Build It and They Will Come, where the guy had to build the baseball field? Please remember this. They will come. But only you have to be okay with you. You have to be in love with you. You have to look in the mirror and be like, oh, hey, smile. You're looking good today. You have to feel that about yourself. So that the mirror can show up as you are. It will always say that. It will always show up, but you have to give this to yourself and you have to mean it. And then what happens is the masculine energy that is very much inside of you, because you're technically the projector for both, shows up and does whatever it needs to keep you. This has always been true. I explained this earlier. In my youth, when I didn't know any better, but I was protected by my mother who taught me all of this stuff ahead of time. So when I meet my ex, right, when I meet him, he flat out tells me I have to stay on my toes and I have to keep you and I have to send you flowers at work and I have to get your attention and I have to constantly take you out on dates and I have to court you and never forget that I'm in a courtship with you. He said that, not me. I didn't know that's what he was supposed to do. It was automatic because the self-concept animates the other bodies outside. This is why I say that the relationship is not out there. What's out there is your confirmation loop to show you how you feel about you. So you can use that, not necessarily for validation, only as a quick gut check to see yourself in the mirror. That's how it needs to be used. And you will know that you are successful by something we call birds before land. Birds before land look like this. All your exes come out of the woodworks. You walk into a room and people are checking you out. You all of a sudden get all the attention you've never had before. Like maybe you didn't notice before, but all of a sudden guys and girls want to buy you drinks and all this stuff. Okay? That is a successful self-concept that is fully self-automated. That's how it works. It's fully self-automated. You don't have to do anything for it. And that's what I want to tell you is work on you, on accepting you. Really take a moment to use that mirror, okay? In my class, in Behind the Veil, I talked to you about using the power of hindsight. In Behind the Veil, I say that because your experiences are creating the bodies that you're seeing, and the attraction that you feel will be based on the fact that you are not rejecting anything that made you you. So you'll automatically be attracted to those things out there. But to receive that same energy back, you have to send it out so it can come back, because it's a mirror. It's a mirror. It's always a mirror. They do not behave any other way except how you feel about yourself. So you do want to use 3D only to make sure that it's in alignment. But if it's not, I want you to be careful not to fall in that trap of beating yourself up because it doesn't yet look like what you want it to. And instead, keep working on you. Say, oh, it's not ready yet. That's all I want you to do. It's not ready yet. two things happen when you do this. You don't spiritually bypass because you're very present to how you're being. And you get to prove the most important thing I've ever said to you. In love is love reflected. You are the source image. Your life must be the confirmation of that. You must discover you are the light of the world. And when I say this, I mean this so sincerely. You have to discover you are the invisible force animating every single body on autopilot outside of you. This is how you discover your omnipresence. This is a legitimate thing. I swear, mira, on my life. It's a legitimate thing. It's a real thing. But it is only available to you in the kingdom of God. The one in which you are undivided and fully aware that what you are seeing is your experience made into different patterns. If you have not discovered that, then you are facing the wrong way in the reflection, looking at the shadows. And if Plato teaches you anything, Plato teaches you that the reward is not on being able to name the shadows on the wall. The reward is realizing that they're just shadows made from the original person. You have to heal your division from source. The good news is that division is imagined, self-imposed, and created by us. So we can undo it. And the way that you do that is by falling in love with everything you are and everything that's happened. If you are still detracting from experience, say for example, like in me, in my childhood, okay? Let's take me. Because I have not had an easy life. I would be lying to you if I said to you, oh, my life isn't a piece of cake. I had great parents and everything. No, I have not. Okay, so let's take my life for example. So I had a single mom. So I had abusive babysitters. My aunts and my uncles took care of me, and my one aunt, who was my absolute best friend in the whole world, her husband used to come on to me left and right. It was disgusting. And as soon as I told her, she disappears instead of accepting responsibility for it. Okay, cool. But I've made peace with it. I've accepted these things were necessary. Why? Well, because when someone comes to me and says, this is my excuse for my bad behavior, I get to say, oh no, I didn't let that be my excuse, so you don't get to use that as an excuse. And this is how I get to serve the collective. So the wound itself works great for me. But I'm not judging it as something bad. I'm judging it as the thing that made me the badass that I am. I love her. And I love the experience. In the moment, you can't do it. Okay, fine. But I'm not rejecting these things. I see their value. And I'm unapologetic about what made me me. Where's the wisdom coming from? Well, it was forged in the fires of affliction. Where else would they be? How else do you develop the faith that moves mountains? How else does the 3D serve you, if not that? So that peace that I feel that is like, hey, these are the things that happened to me and this is great. You notice how I'm not rejecting these things? So what happens as a result? People are attracted to me, but the ones that are attracted to me aren't rejecting me in any way. They're just saying, oh, she's different, but I love her. Fuck, I love her. It feels good to feel that. But the only reason I do is because that's how I feel about me. I've made peace with everything that made me me. I've forgiven everyone that has played in my construct. I'm at peace. I'm at peace. And when you have that kind of peace, believe me when I say it's magnetic. Everyone is looking for peace over everything in their lives. So if you can be that, you are being the energy I call home, frequency, heaven. Nothing is more powerful than that. You want to be that so that everyone shows up to show you how much they appreciate that. They will serve that. They will, I promise you. And if anyone's ever attracted in you, they'll be attracted because they see themselves in you. And that's hot. You don't love someone for who you think they are. You love them for how they make you feel. But how they make you feel is fully dependent on how you feel about yourself. Because God is not divided, which means two bodies are an illusion. One looking at its own image. If you can maintain that, no one will ever leave you. You might leave. You might have stalkers. That's been my problem. But it's a puente thing. But no one will ever want to go. Everyone will go out of their way to show you how much they appreciate and love you. You deserve that. But if you don't give it to yourself, it cannot be given to you. That's what's important, you guys. Know that that's what's attracting you. If you can make peace, it's the last thing I'm going to say on this topic. If you can make peace with the fact that that person out there is you, and you stop making it about them, and realize that all they can do is show you inside yourself, you have a different kind of power now. You're not needing anything from them. You're fully aware in a light versus shadow type thing. You're not fighting the shadow. You move, the shadow moves. You move, the shadow moves. It's a very precise science. Very, very precise, I promise you. But if you don't know this, you are in a fight with your own reflection. You're doing the whole cat and dog thing. A dog growls at its reflection in the mirror because it thinks it's another dog, or a cat gets in a fight with another cat because it thinks it's another cat. That's what you do when you don't realize that you are one. This is a hamster wheel, and you guys trade back and forth guilt as you try to work out what's going on inside of you. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The only reason it doesn't is because you have not realized you are the light determining what the shadow does. Instead, what you're doing is looking at the shadow and letting the shadow tell you what you do. Wrong master. Wrong master. You can't serve both. That saying is very, very accurate. If you love one, you despise the other. So if you're going to choose the undivided one. Choose the light instead of the shadow. The light controls the shadow, not the other way around. Or in Neville Goddard's words, the potter never asks the clay what it wants to be. Never. Okay? So think on this. Think on this. Because your attraction factor, the reason that you will attract anyone to your life, whether you have a specific person in mind or whether you're just making a list of all your dream qualities and they appear, because that is exactly what's happening now. Most people are making their lists. Most of my clients, they just make their lists and then their person appears and then they call me and they're like, "Did you get everything on my list?" Ah! And I do believe and I love it. But if you're trying to attract this and keep it, You better be okay with everything you are. And you better stand up for you. And you better marry her. And you better commit to her. Or him, depending on who you are. I'm just using her because it's me. Okay? But you better commit to that person in the mirror. That source image. Because that's the only way you're ever going to receive a commitment from anything else. In love is love reflected. So to have what you seek, you have to be it. When you are that, you see it in 3D. That's why I say that 3D is flawless. It's made in our image, I swear. Okay? All right. I love you guys, and I'm going to try and prepare myself mentally for the next lecture, Honor Thy Father and Thy Mother. The reason, I'll pre-say this, the reason this is hard is it was the one thing in my life I fought so hard against, was I felt cheated. I felt really cheated. And it's very difficult for me to say this, but had I made peace sooner, my son would still be alive. My life would be so different. And all the struggles I had, I wouldn't have had. So that's why it's difficult. Not because I don't have peace, because it's a difficult thing to admit that my own lack of rejection of those parents caused every single hardship in my life, that I made it difficult. And why? So I'll discuss that if you guys are interested in hearing what I have to say, especially if you're like me, who didn't exactly get handed the best cards in the deck. Okay? If you got handed the shit cards in the deck during the game of poker and you had to bluff your way out till you got out, if this is you and you have difficulty trying to make peace, then listen when I talk about this topic, because I want to make your life easier. I want you to understand how these words will guide you and why they're so important. In the interim, think about what I'm saying. Please remember how important it is to be yourself. Please remember, as a feminine energy, your power is in attraction and influence. Please remember, as a masculine energy, your job is to court. Regardless of gender, if you are doing something opposite than this, you're going against the natural order, and it's not going to feel good. Okay? This is not being old-fashioned. This is not, it is what it is. But what I'm trying to get you to avoid is compensating for what someone else isn't doing. Because that's the law of reverse effort, but it's just being used on you, and you're the one that's supposed to use it. Okay? Alright, you guys. Love you so much. Hope what I'm saying sits in somewhere. As I said, I can only use myself as experience. But it works great. So, stay tuned. Love you. Bye-bye.